Okay, good evening, everybody. Welcome to this meeting of the Review and Scrutiny Committee. My name is Councillor Ian Wingfield. I'm the chair of the committee. Before we start the meeting, I've just got a few housekeeping announcements to make. There are no planned fire alarm tests this evening. If you hear the fire alarm, please leave by the nearest fire exit and make your way to the agreed assembly point, which is the St John's Churchyard off Druid Street. Council security staff will be available to direct you. The public toilets are located off the main reception area. Please switch your mobile phone to silent whilst in the meeting. The meeting is being live streamed to the Southwark Council YouTube channel. A recording of the meeting will also be viewable on YouTube once the meeting has concluded. May I remind members to raise your hand if you wish to speak, and please wait until I've given you permission to speak for contributing. Furthermore, when the chair speaks, other members should stop speaking and not interrupt the chair. Members can ask questions on the issue under discussion. Members can move recommendation on the issue under discussion. Members of the public are welcome to record, screenshot, or tweet the public proceedings of the meeting. A copy of the council's protocol for reporting and filming is available on the council's website. So, moving on to the agenda, number one, apologies. I have received apologies for absence from councillors Cassandra Brown, Bethan Roberts, Victor Chamberlain, and Martin Brecknell, the cooperative member, Asian rep. Are there any more apologies for absence? Did I receive? Sorry, I'm just going to check just to make sure. See, I don't think I have. She might be. Is she? Okay, great. Great, thank you. Right. I just want the voting members to introduce themselves when I call their name. Councillor von Wiese.
Irina von Wiese, Warren Bankside Councillor and Vice Chairperson.
You, Councillor Abacha.
Good evening, Councillor Butcher, Camberwell Green.
You, Councillor Hicks.
Esme Hicks, Champion Hill.
Thank you, Councillor Leeming.
Councillor Leeming, Dutch Village Ward.
Councillor Altre. Oh. And finally, but not least, Councillor Seaton.
Councillor Martin Seaton, North Ward Ward, and like your watch.
And can I welcome Councillor Hicks and Councillor Altre, obviously, because they're new members. Well, they were former members of this committee at one time, but they're new for this cycle, so welcome. Item 2, notification of any items of business which the chair deems urgent. There's no additional late items. Pre-disclosure of interest dispensations. Does any member wish to declare any interest or dispensation in respect of any item on the agenda? No, thank you very much. 4 minutes. Can we approve as a correct record the minutes of the meetings held on the 20th of January, the 21st of January, the 12th of February, the 7th of May, and the 17th of May? Agreed? For those that were here, obviously. Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Seaton.
My only comment, of course, we approve them, but hopefully we won't have to approve so many in one go in future meetings. Please.
I'm sure the officers are well aware of that. I'm sure that won't happen again. Okay, item 5, Overview and Scrutiny Committee and Commission Work Programme 24 to 25. We've had circulated for you a list of topics. You should have this paper, which lists topics under the for this committee and also the various commissions. Myself and the vice chair had a meeting a couple of weeks ago in preparation for this evening's meeting, and what came out of that is that I wanted to ensure that when we were considering this item, we would have the terms of reference for the committee and the commissions, and you'll see that, I think, pages 27 onwards. and also the portfolios of the cabinet members. So we've got the portfolios first, then we got the terms of reference. On they here, the terms of reference? This is just the portfolios. That's for the terms of reference being included. Yeah, Everton. No. Oh, right, so yeah, so page 24 is the general terms of reference. But I thought there were specific ones, Everton, for each commission.
Afternoon, members. What we don't have, Chair, is specific remits for the actual commissions and overview and scrutiny committee in terms of the nature of what the commissions will look at. What we draw upon is the cabinet member portfolios, looking at the areas that they're responsible for, and that's set out and kind of like forms what areas the commissions will be looking at.
What went to the AE Council Assembly then, the annual council?
That the only information that really covers is the membership, chairs and vice chairs, and where you've allocated specific responsibilities for the commission, such as crime and disorder function, you've allocated that in community safety. The health function, you've allocated that to the Health and Social Care Screening Commission. So what you have is the range of portfolios along with the Southwark 2030 goals,
Right.
and they're sitting under each commission as we kind of well know.
Right, thanks. Okay, so so anyway, just in terms of the general terms of reference are there, but specifically under each portfolio, as you'll see, for each commission, you've got the relevant portfolio member and the relevant 2030 goals. That's what we also spoke about. So we link our commission meetings and this committee to the 2030 vision and the themes surrounding that. So that is really what I wanted to take as a sort of starting position. Everybody's still with me at this stage. And then we can go and look at this separate item, which has been circulated. I'll deal with the commissions first before we go, because Oscar's a bit broader. So let's have a look at the Environment, Community Safety and Engagement Commission first of all. So do you want to speak to this, Councillor Hicks, please?
So there's a fairly long list here of scrutiny proposals from a range of sources. They're from collaborative conversations with cabinet members, also proposals that have come in from members of this committee and wider members of the council, and some areas that sort of fall between those. So in terms of focus for the year, it's likely that there will be a broader review around our playground provision that is being led by officers at the moment around how our playgrounds are managed across our parks, as it says here, but also across our housing estates, and particularly looking into what our play provision is like for girls and other groups. We'll be looking at the plans around the Streets for People zoning strategy, and that will be coming scrutiny around plans for community engagement on that in our first meeting of the year. And we'll be looking at things like the customer experience plan, connecting in then the potential of connecting in the complaints point there as well. And then there are a group of topics there which relate to community safety and safety review, which we'll look at as well. But we'll try and focus around a couple around play.
Thank you very much. Any questions on that? No? Let's move on to education and local economy. As I said, Councillor Brown unfortunately can't be with us this evening. as you can see, we've got listed there the procurement framework. I've got a feeling that that might come to OSC rather than the commission as such. But anyway, when she gets back, we can clarify that. Sending school leavers has obviously been an important part of the commission's work. And then there's other stuff on commercial leases, short-term parking, self-building work. Any questions on that? No? Okay, thank you. Health and Social Care Commission, Suzanne, do you want to?
Yes, Chair. We will be looking at a lot of topics concerning GPs, pain clinic, cancer, that's early cancer diagnosis. We also have put in TFL about the bus times for the over 60s because of the time has gone to 9 o'clock. Some have an early appointment. And then still we're looking at the nursing home as well.
Very much. Any questions on that? No, thank you. And finally, the Housing Commission, Jason.
Yes, so we'll focus on two main things. First will be mainly around pre-scrutiny of the Good Landlord Plan, which is to come to Cabinet later this year. That outlines Southwark's approach to becoming a good landlord for all tenants and leaseholders. And I believe the plan broadly will set out how we as a council deliver on our key commitments around decent homes for all under the Southwark 2030 strategy, and progress that we're making under our housing services improvement program, following this D3 grade from the regulator of social housing. And within the Good Landlord plan are a number of things that I know is important to people, including things such as door entry systems, district heating, things around our council delivery program, how we're tracking, amongst many other things. So hopefully our contribution there should be useful. And aside from pre-scrutiny, we'll be looking at fire safety. As we know, there's been various bouts of regulation on fire safety that's contributed to the capital costs that we need to plan for over the long term, and particularly in light of Grenfell, where regulation changed and was updated in 2022. Good to understand how we're delivering on that, and what we need to know as a commission, from the perspective of what issues the council's facing, if at all any, in addressing those issues that are relevant to those regulations.
Just a question, there's a bit of that with some of the topics that we have already on the
Yeah, I'm coming to that.
agenda.
I'm
Okay.
coming to that.
Fine.
Anything else? Yeah. Any other question? Okay, thank you. Right, okay, let's go back to the Area and Scrutiny Committee then. Obviously on page 32, you can see the prime remit of the. Let's go through the items which suggest the topics we've got here. So we've got the budget scrutiny. Obviously, that's something we do every year and takes a large chunk of our time, and that includes the cost of living. What was the cost? What did that? What was the cost of living? What was it?
Not sure. Let me get back to you in a moment.
Annual workforce, yes, that's something that we do, be coming later in the year. Leaseholder costs, well, that should be dealt with by the Housing Commission. Should go to housing. Southwark Equality framework, yes, that comes here. Council delivery plan performance, yes, that comes here. Southwark 2030 goal, yes, that's something here. Council's transformation agenda, yes. Yeah. Cemeteries and crematorium services, yes, that's here under the community review panels. Is that community review panels? Yes. Okay. Yep. Okay. That will come here then. Development of social purpose. Yeah. Sorry.
Understand. What is a community review panel?
Yeah. Apparently, it comes out of the work that was done on the Land Commission. So it's the potential role for scrutiny in looking at the community review panels, especially the one on the Old Kent Road, how that has operated and whether it has been successful or not. So it's part of our regeneration brief. Yeah. Yeah. Jason, did you? No? Oh, no, it's just your light.
Oh, sorry.
Okay, fine. Yes. Yeah, development of social purpose of land framework, yes. Canada Water, what was that? Was the overall master plan, wasn't it, for Canada Water? Right, yeah, that's regeneration. Hey, so right away. Social rent delivery. Oh yes. Okay, so that's a broader piece around social rent delivery and record on council housing delivery, how the council is performing through the planning system and achieving social rent completion with private sector partners. Yeah, it's okay. Southwark housing delivery, affordable housing.
Which is sound very similar.
Sorry?
They sound very similar. Social rental delivery, so the housing delivery, affordable housing.
Yeah, it's two sides of the same coin, isn't it? Effectively. Yeah, okay. So we'll wrap them up together. Rail infrastructure. I think that's more to do with environment. I mean, this is looking at particularly South Bermondsey, Nunhead, Elephant and Castle stations. Yeah, sorry.
I mean, we also don't have responsibility for any stations. We're not been dealing with the third station in my ward, and we're not a great deal of agency yet. How much use it would be us looking at that, given that most of those stations are owned by other people.
I think it's more the use of sill at these stations. That's the council's input. Potential use of sill in cooperation with Network Rail. So, I mean, it also impacts on, the Peckham Station Square development there.
You can still back North Thurrock Station in that context.
I'm just thinking, I don't know,
I think it doesn't feature in the
No,
vision.
no.
But I guess that's because we have
yes.
say over it,
Yeah,
control over it.
yeah,
If
yeah.
it is a seal conversation, then it's
Yeah. But come to. Yes, I know. I'm just trying to divvy them up where they're going first before we prioritise. Yes. I don't want to keep having to do it every single year. Right, so we'll keep it on. That's you. Refreshed leisure strategy. I think that's It's broader, isn't it? Then, yeah, what do you think? Should we go to environment?
I mean, it sits squarely with environment.
Right then, let's go to environment. Good. So we got to, I mean, obviously the commissions will meet themselves and they can prioritise these issues themselves at their first meeting. Yes, so
Actually, one of our to discuss its cost of living. This is looking into other 20 starting all from care economy, but this on subsidies available credit in comparison to other London boroughs. And I think that's also other also that is very
yeah.
and I think they have to
Yes.
the only one.
Yes, probably. Yeah. But I mean, it comes under the budget, really, doesn't it? To a certain degree.
One of that thing.
Which one? Yeah, that should go to that.
Can I respond? Or on the TMO stuff, I guess as part of the good landlord plan, as I mentioned, it'll be encompassed at anything to do with TMOs and orders. For anything very specific like Oval Estate, district heating, the door entry system.
Okay, anything else?
Yes, and I think consenting is an environment and safety where it's the
Apologies. We also had on the list phone snatching, which I see has now been taken up by environment community safety. And then update on the progress of other policing oversight boards. That is also, I think, police oversight board. That's also recycling and CCTV are both on there. You have a long list.
Yeah,
Sorry.
very long list. As I say, it's up to the individual commissioners to prioritise, as Everton stated, because we can't take all these issues in another year, which has been truncated by elections. Okay, so the only thing we've got to do now is prioritise for OSC. Let's go back. So obviously the budget is a priority. I mean, that can include the cost of living, the council delivery plan is a priority, the Southwark 2030 goal, and the transformation agenda are priorities. I think they're the main priorities. Huh? I don't still the priority as such.
What I'm curious, I'll be curious to know why sales would be a priority now, given what I might be missing something.
As I remember, this was the potential restructuring of still. From memory.
Where's Sil Everton at the moment? Where's it sitting at the moment? Is the report going to cabinet in the future? Oh, okay. Martin, did you want to say something?
No, I suspect Cyril.
Sorry?
Yeah, it's on. I suspect Cyril will be important, but certainly this year, decisions and the use of Cyril will be of public interest. But certainly his interest in my board, that's true. I suspect wherever it is, how it's utilised and it's we are able to spend within a reasonable time frame social benefit real public.
Can I welcome Councillor Johnson?
Thank you, Chair.
Any luck, Everton?
Consultation.
So the neighbourhood sale is going to cabinet July. Yeah. So that's not the overall sale. That's neighbourhood. So there's a difference. So that's what you're talking about, the overall sale, wasn't it? Well, we're just trying to see. Is there something on the overall sale?
Yes, Chair. In your discussions with the Cabinet member for Councillor Dennis, she explained that there was a revised framework that was going to be June 2026, and that maybe a potential role for scrutiny, looking at how the process has worked to date and making recommendations on how it might link to neighbourhoods agenda as that is rolled out.
Okay. Yeah. So that's. Yeah. Yes, that's going to be June 26th, so we won't be able to consider it side of that. Okay, so we'll have the neighbourhood. We'll go to cabinet next month. Yeah. So we can have we can look at the report
If you request it.
Okay. All right then. We'll leave it for now. Yep. Anything else?
Clarity, you know the difference between local sale and neighbourhood sale. What we're talking about with neighbourhood sale, the infrastructure sale, which is 100 million, much more. Because I just thought local sale and neighbourhood sale were one and the same thing. I didn't think I didn't think there were any difference. Just so that we're looking at the right thing. Because there's infrastructure still, which is much. I didn't know there was a distinction between local and neighbourhood.
Can you shed any light on this, Everton? Is it the same thing or a different thing? Okay.
Okay, Chair. So on the forward plan for July Cabinet is neighbourhood community infrastructure levy.
Yes.
And that's about approving public consultation on neighbourhood seal allocation changes. That's going to July Cabinet. I don't know whether or not since the forward plan has been published, whether or not there's been any changes to that, but at this moment in time, it's on for July Cabinet.
So the decision is only for it to go to consultation then?
That's what's on the.
That's what's happening. Yeah. So it is the same thing. But then it's going to be deferred till June next year.
I believe that's a different seal discussion to the overall seal. But happy to go away and clarify, Chair, and back to members.
Okay. Well, yeah, do that by email. Yeah, because I don't want it hanging over to the next meeting. That's fine. Yeah. Okay. Else on this? No? Okay. Move on. 6, scrutiny improvement review.
Can I just double check on this document, second page, these two bullet points, gateway and council home?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Yeah.
So that would go over to housing. Yeah.
Chair, if I may add information on that. You may recall there was a scrutiny calling last year around gateway housing contract award around Pontific, and members agreed not to refer the matter back to the decision maker, but instead agreed that it would undertake some form of further scrutiny, not necessarily about the contract itself, but about issues that arose out of the discussion. And one of the things that needs to happen if you wish to pursue this decision is for you to discuss and consider what you exactly want to look at as part of that scrutiny review. So that still needs to be determined what the remit of that scrutiny review is going to be. If you're going to take it forward. But as I said to you, you've got a long list of issues which you won't be able to get through in 1 year, I don't think. So you'll need to decide what you're going to prioritise.
But for the
I was going to say, as part of the good landlord plan, I suspect procurement of services to third parties, contractors, etc., will be within that. I think supply chain management, jobs within the housing covered. So we could look at that, but if the idea is to look at procurement more broadly, given that Gateway 1 isn't specific to housing, if Gateway 1 is used across all council and procurement functions, then it probably should fit with. Just throwing it out there.
My recollection is that we were going to look indeed at broader strategy, in particular at procurement criteria and supply chain management across the different departments, and that we were going to do that here. Because it's a process issue rather than just local economy, but if it goes to local economy, it's not on the list there, but that would be better than nothing. I think it is a wider topic, and I remember that we had a quite sort of bigger discussion around what has gone wrong and whether that was symptomatic for failures in other parts of the organization.
All right. Okay, we'll leave it on us. So
I'm conscious of the amount of workload that we're providing ourselves as a committee, and I guess the extent to which we're able to scrutinise something like Gateway 1 well probably be limited. So I think your discretion, Chair, probably decide how much time we'll be able to dedicate to within the 10 months. Yeah.
well, I mean, what I'm suggesting is that if we have effectively like a Division 1 and a Division 2 of topics, so the Division 1 will be the budget scrutiny, cost of living, the council delivery plan, the Southwark 2030 goal, and the council transformation agenda, because those are the core issues we've got to look at strategically. And then everything else is in Division 2. And if we can fit it in, we can fit it in. But if we can't, because we're limited by time.
So if we can't fit it in, I don't want it to fall between the cracks. But rather than have it allocated a priori to one of the less busy committees, as I suppose they're all quite busy, but does it then automatically go to one of the sectoral committees, or how would it work if we don't find time for it?
But it would roll over to the next year. We're only time limited. I mean, yeah, we'll see how we get on. If we have a fair speed, then we might have time to look at other issues, but we've got to concentrate on the core.
Chair, if I could just add, what will happen now once the committee and the commissions have agreed what they want to look at for this year, and the scrutiny team will be writing to cabinet members and officers just to establish the appropriateness of what you've agreed, along with the timings of when it would be best to look at these particular issues, and then back to the committee and commission chairs.
Yeah, I mean, all the commissions will consider this and make their own priorities. So even though if we deferred this to the local economy, no guarantee we'll get heard there either.
What
depending
may
on what they
happen
prioritise.
through that process of consultation is that some issues may be deemed not to be looked at.
Yes, that's
so you'll
correct.
end up with a shorter list.
That's correct. Okay, is that it now? Yeah. Are they happy now? Well, we covered everything?
So, Councillor Owen.
Yeah, they'll go to,
Right, just making sure.
right. Okay. So we can move on to item 6. Thank you. So Everton's just going to give us a short presentation on where we are.
Yes, Chair. But first of all, if I could introduce Vishal Siegaloo, Assistant Director of Local Democracy Registration and Elections. Vishal has overall responsibility for scrutiny under the leadership of Dawn. Vishal's been supporting me since he's come to Southwark, which is only been 2 weeks now, maybe.
Thank you, Chair. Just to say, I look forward to working with all members this municipal year. And I think it goes without saying, of course, if there's anything or any of his members has, please don't hesitate.
Yes, welcome.
The Chair. So this is a quarterly update on the scrutiny improvement review and the progress around it. So if I can take members through the report and the main recommendations. I should point out that there is an action plan which is marked to follow, which details all the individual actions that we need to implement. Discussing with Michelle, we've kind of come to the conclusion that the action plan needs to be revised so that members can better understand the progress around it. So we've taken a decision not to include it this time round, but we will be updating it in between this meeting and next meeting and circulating to members. They can. So in terms of progress, recommendation 1 was around strengthening the collaborative relationship between scrutiny and cabinet and directors. As members may recall, you agreed the cabinet scrutiny protocol on the 7th of May, which essentially addresses that aspect of it. And we're now in the process of the practical actions. Chair, as you all know, we've just had a cycle of cabinet member scrutiny chair meetings with the chair of overview scrutiny committee, and the scrutiny team are in the process of rolling that out to the scrutiny commission chairs. I know that you have maybe had conversations with some of your cabinet members that you will take up this offer, because it does provide additional information which you may not garner just through the conversations you're having directly with your cabinet member, but that will be the kind of agree to take up. Enhancing, developing a working agreement between members and officers to strengthen collaborative relationships. Again, that's captured in the cabinet scrutiny. So that's We just now have to work on the actual using benchmarking and sharing good practice. We're in the process of consulting with the Centre for Governance and Scrutiny to kind of identify those local authorities which they consider are doing scrutiny well, and we're going to make approaches to those local authorities and potentially spend a day with them to see how they actually undertake the scrutiny, as well as delving into a little bit more detail on their actual arrangements, and anything we find is good practice we'll seek to roll out in Southwark. Support and training for officers on scrutiny. We've not quite completed the work around that, but we're hoping to complete by July. We're rolling it out to departmental teams so that they're more aware of what scrutiny is about, and for us to have information available on council's intranet so that people can just be aware of the scrutiny process. Reviewing how reports and information is supplied to scrutiny. Attached to the appendix to this report is the council's new or revised scoping document, which the scrutiny team will be seeking to actually fully prepare and develop for each item we decide to look at. So we'll be looking at the scoping document being the best way to undertake. So we'll be giving more forethought into the issues that you've agreed to look at. So we should be able to get the information which members require in order to undertake scrutiny. Establishing cross-party pre-meetings. As you know, Overview and Scrutiny Committee has that in place already. In the previous year, some commission chairs took that up. That invitation is going to go out to commission chairs with a view to see if you want to pick up. If you don't, then that's developing a systematic approach to mapping opportunities for community engagement, collaborative approaches, including methodology for identifying local issues for residents. One of the things we're in the middle of is creating a new page on the Southwark Engage website, of which will provide an opportunity for scrutiny to make clearer what it's doing with what work scrutiny is undertaking, and we can share that with the community. And that website will also provide the opportunity for the public to engage with scrutiny, and in particular through a topic suggestion page, which will enable the public to put forward suggestions for the consider. We're slightly behind time. We'd hoped that we'd have this ready before we got to this part in the process where you're actually considering a work plan. However, what we intend to do to not miss the opportunity to launch the website by the 1st of July, and any suggestions received will be reported to the October meeting of the Scrutiny Committee. And depending on what the issues are and how you choose to consider them, you may find that forms part of your scrutiny work program as well. And there's going to be a process of, for want of a better word, marketing. So the chair of OSC will be making councillors aware of this new site, and you hoping that you'll promote it to these. So that information will be rolled out to members shortly. My colleague Adam Ward has provided a video showing what this page, what the scrutiny website will look like, because it's not live yet, and I'll be, after this meeting, sending that to members of the committee so that you can see it and flag any questions. Supporting the co-opted members through a refresh support program. We've not quite reached that point yet. Be able to provide information on that soon. And just to mention, Chair, we have just the Governor Support Services has just gone through a recruitment process in terms of establishing new parent governors for Overview and Scrutiny Committee, for particularly the Education and Local Economy Scrutiny Commission. And we have had successful candidates put through. Mr. Manak Kargbo, who's been on Education and Local Scrutiny Commission previously, and Mr. Ali Cannon, who was involved in scrutiny a number of years ago. Education Commission will members of that. Using member education sessions and master classes to support the work of scrutiny. As I mentioned, we've got a new scoping document where we'll hopefully be able to identify the issues and provide them their information. In terms of continuing to develop an approach on pre-decision scrutiny, what we haven't got is a specific criteria or trigger for what will form as part of a pre-decision scrutiny. But as part of the discussions with the cabinet members, they are being asked to consider what would be appropriate items to put forward. Again, in your list, you'll have seen a couple of items. Using task and finish groups and alternative scrutiny arrangements. Again, the cabinet, the scoping document will identify the appropriate forms of scrutiny to take the particular that you're wishing to. Boarding arrangements that was implemented on the 1st of April 4. So that's focusing on a smaller set of high quality recommendations from scrutiny reviews. Now we've just had last year's reports reported up to cabinet, and hopefully they've taken board as part of the cabinet scrutiny protocol. The committee has agreed that members will put forward a smaller set of. In fact, I'll stop there, Chair, unless members.
Okay. Yeah.
I thank you very much for that. I was just wondering, and I know you're going to send us more information about the Southwark Engage website. Is the idea that members of the public can suggest topics of scrutiny, presumably at a high level, so case by case, obviously, but how do we avoid disappointing members of the public because they wouldn't necessarily know the quite specific criteria for scrutiny? And I mean, even we sometimes struggle with those. So, and then we'll feel that we are ignored.
The literature on the Engage platform makes clear that not everything will automatically be looked at. It makes clear that these can't just be local issues, that they need to be issues that are not just an individual resident's concern. It asks the members to consider or to clarify whether or not they've reported the issue to an MP, a ward councillor previously, and it does make clear that it will be for Overview and Scrutiny Committee to actually provide a short listing of the issues that are. So that information is drawn out through the form that they fill in.
Yeah, I mean, all the criteria will be listed on the website. It'll be easy then to just click on the page and get all the information. I mean, certainly, it's not a new sort of complaints procedure where people can just, push any complaint forward that they may have about the council individually, effectively. So, as Everton says, it's more the strategic stuff. So hopefully, but anyway, this video is going to be circulated tomorrow.
That's correct. Yeah.
So you can have a look at it then and see the detail of it. And if you think it's to be amended or refined, just now. Any other questions?
I suppose it feeds on a bit from the last question and the point that the chair raised about it not being a space for people to use as an alternative complaint procedure. I suppose just because obviously some residents do feel that they are bounced around the council when they do get in contact with the way, is it envisioned that whoever will be monitoring the feedback that comes through there will ensure that stuff that obviously doesn't come to scrutiny is allocated to the correct teams and they are acknowledged and followed up? Because, like I said, I don't want people feeling frustrated because they've gone through the wrong avenue.
The information on the engaged site makes clear that the scrutiny can't look at complaints, individual complaints, licensing or planning issues. I mean, what we will do is once we start seeing information come in, we will respond appropriately. What I guess we don't want to get into, and maybe would need to revise what's on the website, is if we start ending up being a second channel or a shortcut for complaints or something, many to word nip it in the bud and make information clear if that's what.
Okay. Other questions on this? One thing I wanted to, I'm keen that we try and kickstart a bit is the recommendation for different ways of working as a committee. And one of the suggestions coming out of these recommendations was to have a task and finish group. And in discussions with not with all the cabinet, but with a few cabinet members I've had today, I think one issue which stands out quite clearly is the no recourse to public funds. And while I would like to suggest that this topic is a topic that we set up a task and finish group to go away and to look at in more detail. You said you're going to come back with the further report on the mechanics of that. The concept of it, its practical arrangement of it. Is that correct?
Yes, Chair.
Okay.
I mean, what I'd say is as you know, we've been running our scrutiny a particular way for a long time. Yeah. So some of this will require learning. And once we do get into the roles of setting up task and finish groups, we'll need to work out the best way to actually run them, Chair. So once you've established an issue you want to look at, we'll use that as a mechanism for working out how you.
Okay. Because I mean, I'd like to get that underway as quickly as possible, and I'd like to suggest that it has 4 members drawn from this committee, and 3 Labour, 1 Liberal Democrat, just for proportionality, and then they go away, they look at this topic, and then they come back to the full committee with their report and recommendations on that.
Can I just clarify, Chair? Are we talking about no recourse to public funds or refugees or a sanctuary?
We're talking about no recourse to public funds, but we're not just talking about it in a financial sense. We're talking about it in terms of the community impact and what they add to the diversity of the borough. Yeah? So it's a broader piece of work, but we've got to fashion the detail of terms of reference. I'm just flagging up at this moment in time that's I think that lends itself quite nicely to a task and finish group.
Okay. And
then we can go away and work out the detail in terms of reference, membership, etc. I don't think we need to get a committee to ratify that. We can just Councillor Seaton.
Just a clarification. Are there any constitutional requirements here? If a start and finish group was established, would it have to be mentioned in our constitution?
I would say not, members, but that task and finish group would report its findings to the overview scrutiny committee. So it'd be the overview and scrutiny committee making any kind of decisions or based on the work.
Thank you for volunteering, Mark. Irina.
Sorry, can you say a bit more about composition of that group, and is it indeed made up of volunteers? And if so, how many?
But the way I'd approach it is to write to members of the committee to explain that the committee has agreed to set up a task and finish group, and that we're seeking 3 volunteers from the Labour group, 1 volunteer from the opposition group, and then subject to names coming forward or not, we can then consider how we take them.
Any other questions? No? Good. Okay, so besides Task and Finish Group and the website, what's next?
Chair, I've been discussing with Michelle what needs to be our key priorities. I believe the main one has been dealt with in the sense of getting the cabinet scrutiny protocol agreed and adopted, which shapes the way we identify the issues you're going to look at, and also the way we work with cabinet members and officers in delivering that scrutiny.
Yeah.
I mean, the scrutiny itself has been functioning, so it's not quite broken, but the issues that we're looking to do is develop enhancements. We'd hope to have that in place by June, but things have slipped a bit. We're now working towards having everything done as best as we can by the end of July. But I will be working with Michelle, and when we look at the actual action plan again, we'll be able to better communicate exactly in more detail when we expect things to be completed or implemented. So that will be with you before the end of July, not necessarily the action, but timescales that we work to.
Through you, Chair, just to kind of echo what Everton's saying, I think it's, as members are aware, there's a clear action plan developed from the review from the Centre for Governance and Scrutiny. Going forward now, particularly now that I'm in place, Everton and I are determined to ensure that all those actions are delivered. Certainly my intention working together with Everton is to regularly update members as we go along through that process, even if there's outside of meetings, but certainly going forward to be reporting that formally back to members. We've got several ideas that we'll be discussing with members and the chair about specifically, but I think just to rest assured members that there's a lot of actions that we need to deliver, but we're absolutely intent on delivering all of them, and we'll of course ensure that members are involved every step of the way.
Great, thank you, Councillor Seaton.
But I'm going to say thank you for that response. That's great. My experience tells me, of course, I've got to ask this question. Presumably you have enough resources. Described there's a great deal here, an enormous amount. Typically, this was the private sector, would be a team of maybe 10 or 15 people. I don't know what size your team is, but are you convinced that you can deliver what is a rather complex series of recommendations, very detailed responses to these recommendations thus far? Experience suggests, if I don't ask the question, is there sufficient resources? And if they're not, please tell us now. And if it's marginal, if it's borderline, please tell us now, so at least we don't raise our expectations, forgive me, Chair, too high.
I would say that there is sufficient resources to deliver the work. What's difficult to say is how long these things will take. Things that look like they'll take 2 months end up taking 4 or 5. And it is a small team working on everything, so you do get a bit of bottlenecks in the process. But it's all deliverable.
Could I just add, Councillor, as well, that of course that part of my role and of course my remit is to ensure that those actions are delivered. And of course, if I feel that the resources is an issue, then of course I'll report back to members straight away. But I concur with Everton's view at the moment.
Okay. Any other questions? No? Okay, thank you very much. And that concludes the meeting. Thank you all for coming.